Hello, and welcome to Lost in Time, the games that time forgot. I'm your host and internet nobody, Zonic94. Good evening. Okay, for the first episode, I'm actually going to take a look at two versions of an unreleased game. The first one being Superman 2 for the Nintendo Entertainment System, which would later be discovered as a prototype for the game Sunman, developed by Sunsoft and due to be released in 1992 for the same system. Okay, so without further ado, I'm going to take a look at Superman 2 first, just so I can have a firm establishment for Sunman. Once booting up the game, you'll realise that the first level begins without any sort of title screen whatsoever, and the game plays a pretty good 8-bit rendition of the John Williams Superman theme. Well, as good as 8-bit can render it, I suppose. The controls themselves are pretty simple. Just press B button to punch, press A button to jump, and if you hold the up button you can allow Superman to fly. Well, at first it might seem like a pretty average game. After just 20 seconds of playing it, you'll soon discover a problem which I guarantee you will piss you off tremendously. And you want to know what it is? The god-awful hit detection! Whenever you attack an enemy, you've always got to position yourself just right, otherwise the enemy gets the upper hand. Touching just a single pixel of an enemy will result in a hit, and this can be extremely annoying during sections like this where you get ganged up upon by a number of enemies, and you're always too close to hit them. You just gotta keep swatting the air until they eventually die. Once all of that is done, Superman decides to fly up a building with enemies attacking you with missiles. Once again, the hit detection here is a real problem. You've always got to be at the right altitude in order to kill these guys. But even with this said, you'll still be taking hits from either A, an enemy missile while destroying another guy, or B, getting hit by an enemy from dodging a missile. So if you want to save some hit points, then just take my advice. Don't fight the enemies. Just avoid them. Pretty soon you'll reach the top of the building and begin fighting the first boss, a helicopter. Here you control Superman as if you were playing a 2D shooter, and you get to fire heat vision to destroy the boss. It's a pretty straightforward fight, although I will admit it does feature some pretty catchy music. Once you've defeated the boss though, this is where things get really weird. You kill the boss, and nothing happens. I try shooting at it some more, and that doesn't do anything. I try moving towards the edge of the screen, and that doesn't do anything. At this point, I'm completely lost into what's happened. It wasn't until after a short while that I discovered that there's a simple cheat code in the game. If you press pause and press select, then it takes you to the next level. And the next level is the Grand Canyon, and what does it have? Nothing. I swear, there's nothing here. You can try flying over here for about 5 minutes, and I guarantee you won't find anything. There are no enemies, no obstacles, nothing. And the level doesn't even end either, so you've just got to use the cheat code again in order to get to the next level. The next level takes place inside a cave, and the game for some reason starts to become reminiscent of a Konami shoot-'em-up, with enemies that look as if they've been ripped from Gradius or Life Force. Even the layout sort of reminds me of Gradius or Life Force. The only difference here is that there are kryptonite rods everywhere that hurt Superman if he touches them. Yeah, this sort of thing doesn't look as if it was borrowed from another game I know. And yeah, if you've probably noticed by now, this level has absolutely no music whatsoever and has very few sound effects. Brilliant. When you reach the end of the cave, you come across a wide area which I presume they were going to put a boss in, but like the canyon stage, there's nothing. Since the flying stages are all on rails, once I got here, I began unintentionally flying into the wall, which hurts you. But the strange thing is, once I drained my energy here, I learned that from now on, you don't really die. You just make a bunch of broken Superman sprites appear in the top left of the screen. Yep, I have no idea what's going on either. Anyway, the next stage has you on a train with all these flying enemies which are impossible to hit again because of the horrible hit detection again. And yeah, it's just basic stuff. Just don't fall in between the gaps between each cart. Simple stuff, really. So after you beat that level, what the fuck? That train is ginormous. I mean, what the hell? Presumably the train is supposed to be the boss I'm supposed to kill, but I try shooting at it and nothing happens. The only fun I'm having with this boss right now, aside from laughing at the ridiculous size of the train, but I'm deliberately flying into the train to make tons of more broken sprites appear. I have absolutely no idea what they were going to do here, I seriously don't. And that's basically it, that's all they ever completed of the game. If you try using the cheat I showed you, incidentally it just brings you back to the first level again. Terrific. So what I've shown you, Superman 2 isn't a very complete game and has a lot of annoying problems like bad hit detection. But what do you expect? I mean, it's only the prototype to Sunman, which means there's lots of room for improvement, right? So without further ado, let's have a look at the more complete version of the game. So the game opens with a pretty basic intro showcasing the game's villain Spectre looking over the world. And is it just me, or does Spectre look like one of those monitor cyborgs in the Street Fighter 2 animated movie? Meh, never mind. After a brief introduction to our hero, you get the title screen, which features a theme which I doubt will be made into a campy 1960s Batman style song. So upon playing the game, you'll notice that the levels are basically exactly the same as they were in Superman 2, just with slight different level designs. One thing I should comment on, my biggest problem in Superman 2, the hit detection, is still not fixed in this version. They really didn't learn anything from their prototype, didn't they? This game is actually a lot more difficult than the Superman prototype. When you get to the part where you have to fly up the building, my strategy of just avoiding the enemies works much less effectively, as there are more enemies on screen and the missiles last longer in the air and home onto you. Damn it. The helicopter boss is also a lot more challenging. It moves in more erratic patterns, uses more machine gun fire, and also fires missiles at you. But it's still not that hard, so I don't have any problem with it. Grat Sunman. Presumably they didn't know how to spell great, or it's a translation error. Or both. When you get to the infamous Grand Canyon stage, you'll be relieved to hear that there are actually enemies in this stage, and as a result you can actually end it, which I guess really helps because this game doesn't even have the stage skip cheat. The cave level differs greatly from the Superman prototype. For one thing, you're always on foot from now on, and there are tons of enemies that fly around and kill you. Brilliant! When you reach the end of the cave, things take a turn for the worst when, instead of a boss to fight, you are commanded to push button. It doesn't say which button, but I went for the B button, which makes Sunman spin around like an idiot. So what is wrong with following this command, you may ask? I'll tell you what. Nothing fucking happens! I press the B button as fast as I possibly can, and nothing happens. Sunman doesn't do anything. And that's it. That's as far as I ever got with this game. I'm not even sure if the train level still exists. Anyway, and now the final verdict. In conclusion, if this game was ever released, I would say that it would have gotten average to mediocre scores from reviewers because of problems like bad hit detection and the frustrating difficulty level. If they were by any chance going to improve on the problems found in this game before its cancellation, I would say that it probably would have gotten mostly average scores from reviewers, because when it all comes down to it, the gameplay is very simplistic and it's quite repetitive. Regarding the game's cancellation, there are many possible reasons to why this game could have been cancelled, but I think the most obvious one is its release date. By the time this game was in production, the NES was all but dead, so cancelling it around 1992 would probably make a lot of sense, really. And that's basically it for this episode of Lost in Time. See you next time, everyone.
Sunman, na na na, Sunman, na na na, Sunman, na na na, Sunman, na na na.